Welcome to Jay and Chelle's Show and Tell podcast. We're here, everything is on the table except for politics. During this season, we will go over a variety of different topics that I'm sure you probably went through before, or maybe not. One thing's for sure, we will keep it fun, interesting, sexy, and most of all, we will keep it real. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to us. Your support is greatly appreciated. Let's get to it. Welcome to another episode of Jay and Chelle's Show and Tell. What's up, Michelle?
Not much, Jay. How are you?
I am good. I am definitely excited to talk about this particular topic. How can I start? Lockdown. Handcuffed. You are mine, I am yours, right? So the question today is like, when is a good time to lock someone down? In other words, is there a good time to claim a person?
Well, thanks for making it sound like it's a prison. Great way to start. But I think that's a big part of communication between the two people and making sure that you're both ready for a commitment and to be exclusive. I think you have to be mentally ready for that. Sometimes it hits you, kind of blindsides you and you aren't expecting to meet somebody or to be in a committed relationship. But so I think it just depends on the individuals, and I don't think there's a time frame. I think some people might say there is a time frame, certain number of dates or a certain period of time that has to go by before you claim that someone is yours. And by the way, when I was researching a little bit for the show, everything that came up was claiming people on taxes, but that's not what we're talking about today, right? We're talking about like actual relationships and when you're going to go down that path of being exclusive with somebody.
Right. And I like your first answer to that question, which was is between you and your partner, when you and your partner talk about it. But we do know that a lot of folks put claims on other folks and they haven't even talked to them about it.
Exactly.
It's basically, oh, she's mine or he's mine. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically what we're going to talk about. So when you said, a certain amount of dates, like, let me give you a little scenario. So or an example. So if a guy and a woman went out on, let's just say, 3 or 4 dates, right? They had 3 or 4 dinners, went to see 3 or 4 movies, had multiple drinks. They're having a very good time, right? They're spending time with each other. But they have not talked about actually being a couple. So why do you think that happens like that? When they don't talk about being a couple, but in their mind, they are a couple, right? Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I think that you don't know unless you've talked about it, what that other person's doing. Are they seeing other people? Are they talking to other people? So, and in life and in relationships, you should never assume. And so I don't think just because you've gone on 3 or 4 dates and it's gone very well that you should assume that person is only seeing you or is exclusive with you. So that's why I think it's just the communication is a big part of that. I think you naturally get into a groove or a flow of, I can't wait to text or call this person, before I go to bed or when I wake up in the morning. Those are great when early relationships, I'm thinking of you before I go to bed or when I wake up. They're the first thing that's on my mind. So that's always a cool feeling to have when someone does that. You could talk throughout the day, but I think when you're just casually dating like that and before you're actually in a relationship, you don't talk through the whole day. Maybe sometimes you don't even hear from that person. There's that like, how long do I wait between texts or messages? A day or 2 or at least hours. So I think there's a lot of things that happen naturally and progresses as the relationship goes. And then when you get to the point where you do talk about your lives, you talk all day long, you can't wait to tell that person some great news that you got or something exciting that happened for you. I think that's when you start to evolve into, well, now we might be in a relationship. But I think, again, you have to get there with both people and never make assumptions and make sure that that person is ready for a relationship or to be claimed by you.
Right, exactly. And that's a great point also. And that's why you want to have those conversations very, very, very early on to see exactly what you're dealing with or which route you are going to go with this particular person. So I was listening to this is funny, and I usually listen to these like every Thursday, but it's this show on the radio. It's called War of Roses, right? So basically, it's crazy. So basically, the way it works is if a female or a male feel like their partner is cheating, the station ends up calling that particular partner and see who are they going to send a dozen of roses to, right? So the person that set this up with the station is, of course, hoping that the flowers or the roses come to them, but they also are calling because they feel like they may not be being faithful, right? So this particular case, the woman contacted the radio. The radio contacted her boyfriend, so she thought, and he answered the phone and he sent the roses to a different woman, and his girlfriend got upset about it, and the first thing he said was, "Well, we never talked about being together."
Right.
We never had that conversation. And she's like, so what are we doing? And he was like, well, I'm having fun with you. I'm dating around. I'm having fun with this person and that person too. And so when I sit back and I thought about it, I'm like, well, you know what? They never had the conversation. She never really acknowledged that they had the conversation. So is he really wrong? Is he really wrong for going to see this girl or going to see that girl or taking this girl out, so if they haven't had that conversation or sat down at the table about what are we doing, or are we a couple, or are we going to take this to the next level, then I kind of feel he was well within his rights because they never talked about it. Now, who to blame for never talking about it is up in the air. You could blame him, you could blame her, or you could just blame both of them because they never actually sat down. And if you're spending so much time with this particular person on a daily basis or every week, then I think that's a conversation that probably should have happened,
It's interesting that they were that far apart in how they perceived their relationship, that she thought they were in a relationship and that he was cheating on her. Right. And that he was like, whoa, hold on. Like, we've not even had this conversation. I am seeing you, but I'm also seeing other people. So he was definitely well within his rights there if they never had that conversation. But I do think that is a big thing when you're looking to get into a relationship, or you can casually date just because you want something to do or you want to go out and meet a bunch of different people. In my line of work that I'm in, we talk a lot about retirement readiness. And I think, I don't know if the phrase has been coined yet, but I'm going to coin it, the relationship readiness. You do have to be in a situation or in a position where you are ready to open yourself up to maybe be exclusive with a person if that's what you're looking for, if that's what your goals are, and that's what you want. And so that's why it is so important to have that conversation. You shouldn't be wanting to date around other people, see other people, even texting or talking to other people. If you're in a relationship, you shouldn't be having those types of conversations or even leading someone else on to think that they could potentially have something with you. Those are all conversations that have to be had with the two people involved in the relationship and with other people that you might be talking to as you get into that relationship. You maybe don't have to break it off with people, but definitely shouldn't be continuing to have those conversations if you commit yourself to somebody. And that's the thing. That's the difference, is whether you're casually dating, having fun like that couple was, or the guy at least, not the girl, but
hello.
Hi. But I think that you definitely want to have that committed conversation, or that, sorry.
Yes, and I totally understand. You want to have that conversation to see exactly where things would go, especially if there's kids involved. Also, if you're a guy that has kids, or a single father, or you're a female that has children, single mother. These are conversations that you may want to have if you think that you may want to go down that road with being with this particular person, because that's very, very important when it comes to bringing your child around certain people.
Yeah, I think you definitely should be cautious when you start to date somebody who has children, or if you are the person with children, or if you both do, when you decide to introduce your children to that person. Children can become attached very easily to somebody. They can, want to be with that person all the time. And so I think that's something that people definitely need to do, is use some caution in who they bring their children around and when they introduce them. And we could probably have a whole separate conversation on that when it's the right time to maybe move in together, but definitely when it's the right time to introduce children to a significant other.
When is the right time to introduce a person that you may be interested in, introduce them to your children?
That is tricky, because I know people who have been in a relationship with somebody for a year and they haven't met their significant other's children. And maybe it's because they're in college, they're not there all the time. But I think you definitely want to have confidence and know that you're going to be spending a future, or at least a good amount of time with that person. It would be sad. I remember growing up and my dad having a girlfriend that I didn't get to see anymore. And I really liked her. It was just one girlfriend, and then he met his wife, and she's awesome. And we still have a great relationship today. But I remember that from a very young age, being introduced and loving someone who was no longer in my life. And I didn't understand that they broke up and that they weren't together anymore. And I still wanted to see her. I didn't get to still see her, after she was in my life for even a short amount of time. So I don't think that there's a right time. I think when it feels right. I think you need to know that, hey, I'm going to spend some good quality time with this person. We have a future together, and now is the okay time. It could be a month. It could be a few dates. It could be 6 months or a year. I think it just depends on when you start to know that you're going to be with this person for a while, and that you're not going to yank them out of your kids' lives.
Yes, and I agree with you 100% on that. It's really not a time frame. It's a knowing frame. And when I say knowing frame, meaning that knowing who you're interested in, knowing their background, knowing what their intentions are when it comes to things, because you can wait 6 months to introduce someone to your child, because now you're in a time thing, saying, okay, we've been together 6 months. Now it's time for you to meet the kids. Maybe it's not time, because you can wait that 6 months and then something can happen down the line where all of a sudden you are not with that person anymore. But now the kids are invested. So I really don't, I agree with you 100%. It's all about how you feel, where you and that particular partner is at, and how well you guys may work together and or know each other, to bring children into the situation. So yes, I hear you on that. There's really not a time frame.
And I can speak from experience. The children can become attached to the adult person, but I know for a fact that the adult person can become attached to the children too. So that adds an extra element or layer to that relationship, in my opinion, because now you're, not concerned,
extra element of love,
Yes.
Because that's what children are going to give you, But I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's a huge element, but also for me, a little bit of fear, because you don't want to lose the person in your life, and you definitely don't want to lose the children now that you've grown to love. So I definitely think that is a very, very touchy subject, but it also is amazing. It's an amazing feeling, and it's, something that can be so good for people in a relationship to have this little family and merge families. I think we actually did decide we would one day talk about like blending families, probably people with multiple kids, each have kids, and you blend your lives together and how that all works out.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. It's and that can be a very, very, very good thing. So as we know, getting back to the claiming part. So when we say when is the right time to claim your partner, it's totally up to you. But what you will have to definitely do is talk to your partner and see if you guys are on the same level. If the situation is going to be, hey, we're just going to do this, and we're going to be friends. In other words, it's just a sexual situation. Then we handle it just like a sexual situation. But we also know that you can say it's just a sexual situation, and we're not committed. But there's one person there that probably can't separate sex from feelings, right? We always say, oh yeah, I can separate the two. It's not a big thing. But how difficult is that from a woman's point of view to be able to separate sex from feelings? And the reason why I say from a woman's point of view, because naturally, I feel that women are more emotional or in touch with their feelings or expressing their feelings just a little bit better than men will. So how, if you are a woman that can separate the two, how are you able to do that?
I think it comes down to being strong mentally and knowing that that's the deal. You both go into it with that is what's going to happen. There is going to be nothing more. Don't catch feelings. But it is hard to not do that. I think for males and for females, probably harder for females to not catch feelings. But I think as long as you're strong mentally and you know that's the deal. But I think a lot of women probably get into that kind of a situation and will eventually want more. And then they end up disappointed when it doesn't lead to more. But if that's the expectation, if you're upfront and that is what you both go into wanting, then I think it can be done. You probably just have to keep reminding yourself that that's the agreement that you have. And now if you start doing dating things or things couples would do in addition to just the sex, then I think this is a slippery slope, because then it becomes like, oh, now we're acting like a couple or we're doing coupley things. And then that's when your mind you can be strong mentally. You can know that that's the focus. That's all that's going to happen. But then you start doing other things that make it like, okay, well, now we are seeming more in like a relationship. We're talking about the future or common goals or how we would align. Then it's going to be an issue. But I think as long as you both agree, that's what the deal is, and you keep it with that, you leave it at that, it can be done.
Yeah. So I'm going to fundamentally disagree with you just a little bit there. And when I say that, meaning like you can still go out with the person, hit a movie, hit a bar or something like that. Of course, not walking around holding hands like you are a couple. But if you are in a certain sexuation with with someone, it's nothing wrong with just going out for dinner and then coming back and do your thing. So there is still certain things I believe that you can do that. Just because you are together doesn't mean that you are really together or doing things that couples would do, because most couples, when they go out, there is some like affection, there is holding hands, there is hugging and things like that. But I also do get what you're saying, that you don't want to lead that particular person on a certain pathway when you guys have an agreement over here. This is what we are. So I do get that.
That's
for
what
sure.
I'm saying. If I have it in my mind, this is what's happening, and this is the one thing that we're going to do together because we both want it, we both like it, or we have great chemistry. And then you start doing other things. That's when you can start to, at least that's where I think a lot of people could start to catch feelings. And like, oh, we're going out to dinner. Is it romantic? Is it just a casual setting? Are we having wine? Are we talking and laughing and getting along and starting to see that there could be something more? That's when I said, or when I think that you can have it in your mind one way,
right,
but then something else starts to happen and it's not what you intended.
Right. So in other words, if we are just doing this,
right,
hit me up at the 12 a.m.
Exactly.
then we can get to work. So yeah, I totally get that. So why do you think that it's kind of difficult for people to commit or want to go down that road of let's be a couple? Why do you think more folks just want that particular type hookup type relationship versus just trying to just go all in with each other? Do you think it has something to do with past or history or being scared or anything like that? Can you break that down a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's where the relationship readiness comes in.
Mm-hmm.
If you aren't happy with yourself or a situation you're in, I mean, maybe it's financially, maybe it's just from a mental health standpoint, maybe it's just you broke up with your ex and your ex is still maybe a factor. There's so many things that could make you not be ready for a relationship. And that's where I think you have to be at least somewhat ready to commit yourself to somebody. Relationships are hard. They take a lot of work. If you're not mentally prepared or you're not ready for that, you're not ready for the amount of work that entails, then you shouldn't do it. I think you can casually date, try to meet new people, go out and have some fun, but I think you need to definitely be ready mentally for a relationship. And there's so many factors that could come into play that could make it so someone's not ready. You just might not be there emotionally. I think that you have to find someone you click with too, and you can't force a relationship. So definitely something that you have to be ready for.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that as far as, you're just getting out of a relationship with someone. I think that if you are like just getting out of a relationship with someone, I believe now that you should take that time, take that space.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? I used to run from women that say, "Oh, I just got out of a relationship," because here's the thing. There's a lot of different saying. You get up under somebody else to make you forget about the last person, but do you really want that though? Do you really want to just be that rebound for that? Because basically that's what it is. It's just a rebound,
That's where the just sex relationship is nice.
Yeah,
you
for
have
sure.
That, because you aren't having to deal with someone's background or history, or there's no expectations.
For sure, yeah, and I agree with that. But yeah, those when you say, "Hey, I just got a relationship," that's a perfect sign to run, especially when this person was so used to being in a relationship and she or he may want that relationship type feeling again. Because I've known people that just broke up with somebody and boom. As a matter of fact, I did that before. So let me just stop saying I've known people. I did that shit before.
Right.
So jumping out of one relationship right into the other one. So a lot of times it just doesn't work out.
It's hard for it to work out
like
when
you want it to. So because you're constantly wanting to be up under this person, trying to forget about the last person, especially if you were with them for a certain amount of years, 4 or 5 years. If you're with somebody for 4 or 5 years and you break up, now you're with somebody 2 months later, ain't no way that
There's no way you're ready.
There's no way you're ready for one. No. There's no way for two that you're out of love with this particular type person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like there's still probably some type of feelings there. Now, if there's just no feelings at all, if you are honest with yourself and there's no feelings at all, then did you really even love this person anyway? You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I agree. Yeah. That is where the just sex relationship comes in at when you are just fresh out of a relationship, for sure.
Yeah, if there's lingering feelings or I don't want to use the term, if there's issues that you're still dealing with, unwinding that relationship, then yeah, the casual dating or the just sex relationship is probably the way to go at that point. Just get yourself in a good position, get your head right. That's one thing that I think, focus on yourself. I mean, there's nothing wrong with self-care. I'm a huge promoter of self-care. Get some massages, take a little vacation, be with your friends, let yourself just be and get over that before you're ready to jump into something else.
For sure. And that's only fair for you. And it's only fair for
Correct.
the person that may be getting involved. So do you have any words of wisdom right now for women that may be thinking about claiming someone, and and the guy they're thinking about claiming has no clue or anything like that? Do you have any type of advice for them?
I think my best advice would be don't be afraid to stand up for yourself and have that conversation. I think sometimes maybe, and it could happen with males too, but women might not be outspoken enough. They don't want to scare a guy off by saying, this is going well. I really enjoy spending time with you. Maybe we should just spend time with each other. It's awkward. It's hard to have that conversation. And maybe sometimes you don't want to be the first one to do that. You're waiting for the guy to make that move. You know, that's kind of the old school of thought, but you're thinking, well, he should make the first move. He should say that we should be in a relationship or committed to each other. But I don't think that's the case. I think women should feel free to be empowered to speak up and stand up and say, this is what I want. This is going great. And I think we should be in a relationship. Now, I've had lots of different kinds of scenarios where you don't even really talk about it. You just are in a relationship. And that's a bad move because you don't know what that other person's thinking. You don't know, even though you're spending all your time together and it seems like you're both in a committed relationship, they may not think that. So that's why I think it's important to actually state the expectations. This is what I want out of a relationship with you. This is what I want out of life. We have similar goals. Our lives are aligned real nicely. So I think that definitely speak up for yourself, have that conversation, and don't be afraid.
Right. And that's a great point. So my 2 cents on when it comes to it as far as male's perspective, when is the right time to claim someone? Listen, I don't know. I don't. I know what works for me. I can't tell, the fellas out there what they should do. Only thing I can say is just keep it real with them. Keep it real with the woman that you may want to be with or you may not want to be with. And just put it on the table as what it is. Hey, we just go bang, Hey, we just go work on a relationship. Hey, let's just do this. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I would look at it. Hey, just know your partner. We talked about this all the time. Know the person you're dealing with. Try to get as much information as you can as far as what they're looking to do in their future, because time is so important. Time is very, very important. And a lot of times, actually we can't get that back. So when you're spending time with the person, let them know what this time means to you. And be sure that it means the same thing to them. You don't want to be in a situation where in your mind you're thinking like, oh, she is the one. I am about to be with this person. But in her mind, she's thinking nowhere on that particular level. So that's what I would have to say about that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said keep it real. I can only speak for myself, but I know a lot of females, we have fragile hearts. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you're saying you're committed to somebody, be committed to somebody. If you decide you're not meant to be with that person or you wouldn't want to be with somebody else, then let them know, let them down easy, and then go be with other people. That's a huge, I think, tip for the guys and girls too. It can happen both ways, but I just know we talked about women are emotional. We tend to go all in, and there's always a fear of getting hurt. And so that's my thing is keep it real, be honest. Just if you're not feeling it or if something's not going right, don't keep saying I love you and go do something on the side. Just let them down easy. It's a nice thing to do.
Good. Great conversation, Michelle. So to everyone that's listening, please don't forget to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Also visit us on Instagram and also on Facebook at Jay and Chelle Show and Tell Podcast. And if you want to listen, you can go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Until then, we will see you next time.
Oh, and please don't forget to hit the subscribe button on YouTube especially. We want social media followers, but definitely we want those subscribes on YouTube. Thank you.
For sure.